Hey, welcome back to Notes 1.6. Got everybody's favorite topic today, word problems. And we'll do some literal equations, which is also a favorite of people. Well, we'll dive right into it. Question number one. TVs these days are in a ratio of length to width of 16 to 9. So we'll say 16x to 9x, and other sides are equal as well because it's a rectangle. And we know that the perimeter is 136. So I know that 16x plus 9x plus 16x plus 9x all the way around is equal to 136 inches. If I add my like terms, 50x is equal to 136 divided by 50, I get x is equal to 2.72. Okay, now if I want to actually know the length and width, the length is going to be 16 times that, and the width is going to be 9 times my x, which is 43.52 and 24.48. So we got our length and our width. Just on a side note, they measure TVs by their diagonal. So if you have a 55-inch TV, that means the diagonal is 55. How would you decide how big this TV is, what advertised inches? Well, you'd have to use the Pythagorean theorem, right? So 43.52 squared plus 24.48 squared is equal to your c squared, and you could come up what your c is, your diagonal there for how big the TV is. But let's move on to number two. Number two, how much pure alcohol should be added to 20 liters of a 40% alcohol to increase the concentration to 50%? Okay, so in this container right here, we have 20 liters, and it is 40%. 40% of it is alcohol. The other 60%, I don't really know, but 40% is alcohol. I want to add X amount of liters to this, and it's pure alcohol, so that means it's 100% alcohol. And I want to end up with 50%. Okay, so it's starting at 40%. I'm adding a higher concentration, kind of ending with 50%. Now, what I have left here would be those 20 liters plus whatever I'm adding right there. Okay, so my equation I'm going to set up here is 40% of the 20 liters plus 100% of X liters would equal 50% of 20 plus X liters. Okay, and you guys can solve that out. We get 8, and 1x is equal to 10 plus a half x, and you can solve that out. I subtract that over, I get 1 half x. Subtract that over, I get 2. Multiply both sides by 2, I get 4. That means I should have 4 liters of the pure to add to get to that 50%. Okay. Okay, number 3. Peripheral Visions produces high-definition DVDs of live concerts. The company places an ad in a newsletter. The cost of the ad is $100. Each DVD costs $20 to produce, and the company sells them for $24. How much do they need to sell to make a profit? Okay, we're going to write a couple different things. First of all, we're going to think about the cost. So our cost function, how much does it cost for them to sell and make? Well, it's $20 for every DVD plus the $100 for the cost of the newsletter, the ad in the newsletter. Okay, revenue is what's coming in. So our revenue function is $24 for every CD. That's how much money is coming in. So this is how much is going out for the cost, how much is coming in here. So let's find out where they break even. So 20x plus 100 is equal to 24x. Okay, subtract the 20 over, 4x is equal to 100, so x divide gives you 25. So at 25 CDs is where they break even. So they need to sell more than 25 to make a profit. So they need to make 26. I guess we could put the greater than there. X has to be greater than 25. Okay. Okay, we'll talk about some direct variation here. Direct variation, I don't know if you remember back in Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, but we always use the equation y is equal to k times x. K is called our constant of variation. Okay, and I don't know if you remember this, but it always goes through the point, through the origin 0, 0. Okay, so Hooke's law, a little bit of physics here, states that the distance a spring stretches varies directly with the amount of weight that's hung on the spring. So you have a certain spring, some weight hanging on it stretches it a little bit. If I put more weight on it, it'll stretch it even more. Okay, so the distance it travels, instead of using y, let's actually use d. So the distance it travels varies directly with the weight that's hung on it. Okay, so if I know that I have 15 pounds, that's my weight, it stretches at 8 inches, that's my distance. Okay, I have this equation here. And if I solve for k, I divide by that 15. I have 8 over 15 as my constant of variation. Okay, now I can use that to solve this next part. What if I put more weight on? 35 pounds. My distance will be that same coefficient times 35 for my weight. That gives me a distance of 18.6 repeating inches that it'll stretch. Okay. Right. Number 5. Okay, a grain bin in the shape of an inverted cone. So we have a grain bin, and it is an inverted cone. So there's my cone. Has a height of 11 feet. So the height is 11 feet, and a radius of 3.5 feet. Okay. The grain in the bin is 7 feet. So it comes up to about here, about 7 feet up. That's how much grain we have in there. So there's 4 feet left up there that's not. What is the volume of the grain? How much grain do we have in here? Okay, so one thing we need to know is what is the volume of a cone? I don't know if you remember this from geometry, but it's 1/3 pi r squared h. Okay, so we really want to know this cone right here. Okay, so we have 1/3, we have pi. Now, we don't really know the radius of our smaller cone here, but we do know the height is at 7. Okay, so the way we can figure this is if you think about the bigger cone and the smaller cone are going to be similar. So this is 3.5 radius, and this is what we want to find. And this height is 11, and this height is 7. So you could use direct variation, where you could set up a proportion either way. If we use direct variation, since we're talking about that, I know that I'm going to use the radius is equal to k times r height. So if I plug these two things in, 3.5 is equal to k times 11. So my k is equal to 3.5 over 11. Okay. Now, if I use that for this next one, I want to know the radius, and I know my k is 3.5 over 11, and I know my distance there is, my height is 7. So if I work that out, I have 2.227. Okay, so that's what I can put in here for that radius squared. Okay, and if you work that out, Desmos or wherever, it comes up to be approximately 36.4, and it's in feet, so it'd be feet cubed. Okay, so that we just figured out how much grain is stored in this bin if it's 7 feet up. Okay, last topic for today is literal equations. It is basically an equation with a lot of letters in it, and we want to solve for a certain variable there. So let's solve for that b1. So I like to get rid of the fraction first, so I'm going to multiply everything by 2. So I have 2a, and half of 2 is just 1, so it goes away. And I have that left there. To get rid of the h, I'm going to divide both sides by h. So 2a over h is going to equal my b1 plus my b2. And then to get b1 by itself, get rid of this by subtracting it over. So I know that 2a over h minus the b2 is going to equal the b1. And we're done. Next one, we're solving for the L. First thing I'm going to do is subtract the 2w over. That's a number. Just subtract that over. So p minus 2w is equal to the 2L. And lastly, I'm going to divide by that 2. So I'm going to have p minus 2w over 2. Now, another way to write that, it's okay to do that, where I can divide both things by 2. So I could say this is p divided by 2, and those cancel, minus w would be another way to write that. Okay, next one, I want to solve for the F, the Fahrenheit. This is the Celsius. Let's switch it around and do the Fahrenheit. So once again, I like to get rid of the fraction there. Let's multiply by the reciprocal, 9/5. So times c would be 9/5 c. And that times that is 1, cancels out. So I just have f minus 32. And to get this f by itself, I'm going to add the 32. So I have 9/5 c plus 32 is equal to my Fahrenheit. Now, when my friend tells me what temperature it is in Canada, I can plug that in there and find out what it is in Fahrenheit. I guess I can just ask Google too. But anyway. All right, next one, I want to solve for the R. So once again, I'm going to get rid of the fraction, multiply by the reciprocal. So I have 3 over 4v, and that times that, 3 over 3, 4 over 4 cancels, so I just have pi r cubed. Okay, next I'm going to divide by the pi. So I have 3v divided by 4 pi is equal to r to the third. If you remember back in Algebra 2, how to get rid of the r to the third? Well, we're going to take both sides of the cubed root. So we have the cubed root of 3v over 4 pi. And the cubed root with the cube cancels out, so I just have the r. Okay, that concludes 1.6, and actually the notes for the chapter. So, enjoy the homework.